Hello, my friends. Welcome to SJ Weekly. I'm actually recording this a day early because I'm going to be very busy tomorrow, but it's still going to come out on Sunday for you guys. My girlfriend has made me coffee, but it's very foamy. There's a lot of foam on the top of this thing. I wonder what the deal is with it. Oh. It's very bubbly. I think she might have put whipped cream in it. I'm not sure if I like that. I know there's a lot of those Starbucks like double cream wet dream coffees where it's literally 500 fucking calories in a coffee. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of this stuff. When you add that much cream and milk and sugar, it's not really a coffee anymore, is it? I know on last week's episode I talked about doing a video a day, and for about 2 weeks before that episode I had been doing it pretty much steadily. However, this week I kind of fell apart. Something happened IRL I had to go deal with, and so basically, aside from the Dumping with Scrump and the Sargon D&D campaign, this channel has been quiet, unfortunately. But I'm getting back on track, guys. You'll see some more videos from me. Thank you very much for your patience. And this week we're going to be talking about only men. Only men. For example, men face more discrimination than women. Oh, that's news, isn't it? Global study claims that males receive the raw end of the deal with harsher punishments for the same crime, compulsory military service, and more deaths at work. Men are disadvantaged in 91 countries compared to 43 nations for women. The UK, US, and Australia all discriminate against men more. To contrast, Italy, Israel, and China are harder environments for women. Scientists created the basic index of gender inequality to assess inequality. Closer the Biggie score is to 0, the greater level of equality is in the country. And to anybody who's not an SJW, this should come as no surprise. The patriarchy, as they call it, comes with a lot of harsh penalties for men. And the worst part about it is that a lot of those penalties are required for society to run. Somebody has to do the rough, grueling work, and it usually ends up being men. Somebody has to fight in the military, and it usually ends up being men. And because society takes male stoicism for granted, we have no problem putting them away for longer sentences for the same crimes as women. I think the best way to describe it is that there is no male privilege, there is no female privilege. There is rather a set of privileges for each gender. And they're not the same privileges, but they do eventually more or less even out. The study looked at 6.8 billion people around the world, so you got almost all of them, didn't you? Wonder how the fuck you did that. Scientists developed a new way of measuring gender inequality. The UK, US, and Australia all discriminate against men more. I'm not surprised. You have diversity quotas. You have baseless Me Too allegations and listen and believe. You have the male draft. And I even remember reading that if you're in your 20s and you're childless, women tend to earn more than men in the same position. So really, equality's been achieved. In fact, we're starting to swing the other way around. With this Biggie score, 0 is perfect, indicating absolute parity between the genders. Italy came the closest to perfect with a score of 0.00021, slightly favoring males. The top-ranked nation to favor women over men is claimed to be Saudi Arabia, with a score of negative 0.001554. Hold on a minute. I mean, I guess I can kind of see how they put Saudi Arabia, of all fucking places, in that category, because for all the legitimately terrible things that Saudi Arabia and other Islamic nations do to women, and there's some terrible shit. There's female genital mutilation, there's keeping them in the house, there's keeping them covered up, you know, the male escort system, all of that complete anti-freedom bullshit. Women still end up being safer. And that really is the problem, isn't it? Because if you value safety above all else, it makes sense to just stay inside and never actually engage with the world. It makes sense to just cut off your arms and your legs, because those things may take you into danger, attach you to a feeding tube, and then wrap you in bubble wrap. That shit'll keep you safe, but who wants to actually live that kind of life? So here's the actual list, and as we go down, you can start to see the numbers increasing, either positively or negatively. If it's negative, that means that women have the advantage, and if it's positive, that means that men have the advantage. But the further away the number gets from 0, pure 0, the more unequal it is for the group that's advantaged. Let's see what we get. United States of America. It's significantly more unequal in favor of women compared to some earlier entries. Same with Brazil and women. Same with South Korea and women. And Japan and women. A lot of these findings are kind of surprising, but where's Canada on this? Oh, we favor women, but we're in better state than the States. But here's some more gender nonsense. Men who identify as women are being invited for cervical smear tests, even though they don't have a cervix. However, women who identify as men are not being offered crucial routine breast screenings or cervical cancer checks. I wish I could say I didn't see this coming. But this is stupidity. Okay, I understand that there's a mix-up here. You know, you got trans people who haven't transitioned fully. They haven't, undergone what they call bottom surgery. And they still have some of the old parts of their gender of birth. I mean, they still need to get those looked at, Like, it's still a medical need. I guess if we're going to be living in the brave new world of trans people, which is fine because people have the freedom to do whatever they want, we should start thinking about cervical smear tests as not something that you give to women, but you give to people who own cervixes, I guess. This is where the TERFs and the trans SJW start fighting, because TERFs believe that there's something inherent in femininity that men cannot take from them, and trans people say things like, you don't have to have a vagina to have a woman. Well, it turns out the medical community has clearly sided with the rad femmes on this one. Why did they use this picture? Neither of these people are trans. I've got a pretty good ability to tell now. I don't get trapped that easily anymore. Trans people who register with their GP as their birth sex will be invited to screenings appropriate to that. But if they register as their gender they identify as, they will not be. If a trans man, born female, registers as male, he won't be invited for routine breast screenings at 50 or cervical screening. However, if a trans woman registers as female, they will be routinely invited for cervical screening. I don't think you guys have it completely right there. You might need to change a few of your protocols. This is an older article, but I do think it fits. Physically weak men more likely to be socialist. Strong men more likely to be capitalist. Another thing that nobody is surprised about. Of course, weaker people would want to be cared for by an overarching power structure, and of course, stronger people would want to have the freedom to go out there and earn their own way. The soy boy socialist is more than just a stereotype. And you know what? I can actually relate to this, because when I was 19, I was pretty close to being an SJW myself, I have to admit. I'm not too proud of it, but like, if you asked me back then if I thought socialism was the way, I don't think I'd say yes, but I would definitely be very sympathetic to the idea. And I was also significantly weaker than I am now, physically, because I didn't work out back then. I do now. I hit the gym up 3 times a week. But also because, I didn't know what I was doing with my life, and that strong emotional core wasn't there yet. I'm stronger both physically and emotionally, and in terms of my life goals. I'm more centered. I know exactly who I am at this point in my life. So I think that's why I probably switched to being, a hardcore capitalist. And I think most of those socialist soy boys that you meet out there, they frankly just need to grow up a little bit, and they'll probably switch in the same way. Brunel University academics studied 171 men aged 18 to 40, examining their overall physical strength, bicep circumference, weight, and height. They also noted the amount of time each individual spent at a gym, and examined those variables in light of whether they subscribe more to capitalist or socialist ideologies. They found that the more physically strong the men were, the less they believed in socialist policies, and the more they believed certain social groups should be dominant. I don't necessarily believe that certain social groups should be dominant. I don't believe in the group part of that, maybe individuals if they earn it. And I don't know about should. There's not anything prescribed there, in my opinion. It's an earned thing, not a natural rights thing. But I'm not surprised that the amount of time people spend at a gym, or in general spend working out, is related to this. Because if you earn money, people can take it away from you. You can be taxed. A government can come and crack down on you. If you earn a social status, that can be taken away. There's a lot of things that you can earn legitimately in life through fair, hard work, and it can be unjustly taken away from you. However, one thing that can't be taken away from you is physical progress. If you work out and you eat right, you will get in shape. And no socialist can come along and redistribute your muscles or something. They're a part of you, and they're a symbol of your hard work. So I'm not surprised that people who believe in advancement through work also hit the gym regularly, because that is the most concrete example of that value set in action, even more so than capitalism or money. Additionally, they found that stronger men tend to reject the redistribution of wealth whether they are financially rich or poor. Again, that makes sense, you know? A strong person, even if they're poor, they figure they can get there themselves. They don't need a handout. They can work and make it. Hell, I'm poor, and I think I can work and make it. One of my 3 New Year's resolutions is to hit 100K subs on the channel, and I think I can work and make it. I think the work that I do will show. Apparently, a year later, though, Donald Trump is still defending the size of his hands. How Donald Trump appeals to men secretly insecure about their manhood. This is not why Donald Trump won the election. I know it might make you feel good on the radical left in the media to say that this is why Donald Trump won the election, but it is not actually the case. And the more you keep deluding yourself with nonsense like this, the more elections you are going to lose. From boasting about the size of his penis on national television to releasing records of his high testosterone levels, President Trump's rhetoric and behavior exude machismo. His behavior also seems to have struck a chord with some male voters. See, for example, the Donald Trump Finally Someone with Balls t-shirts. But our research suggests that Trump is not necessarily attracting male supporters who are as confidently masculine as the president presents himself to be. Instead, Trump appears to appeal more to men who are secretly insecure about their manhood. We call this the fragile masculinity hypothesis. Here's our evidence. This has to be some fucking evidence. Research shows that many men feel pressure to look and behave in stereotypically masculine ways, or risk losing their status as real men. I know that that's the SJW party line on masculinity. I remember hearing many feminist professors tell me it back when I was at school. But at this point, I don't think that's the case. I think it's the case for some people. But I think for most men, they don't care if other men don't view them as real men. They might care if their partner doesn't view them that way. I think it's more that a positive masculinity is comfortable to men. Of course, not all masculinity is positive. There is a toxic masculinity just as much as there is a toxic femininity. The tyrannical father is still a problem. But not all masculinity is that. And I think men embrace traditional male behaviors, as they talk about it in here, often not because they're doing it to avoid looking like not real men, but they're doing it because it provides meaning in their lives. You know, there are a lot of men out there who will tell you directly they don't necessarily need to make money, although making money is great, obviously, but they need to do something meaningful. They need to be able to work at something, make progress, and show that it helps those around them. And when they can do that, they feel good about themselves, they feel good about their lives, they feel good about the community. And all those things are traditionally masculine, and they're positive. So I think men are not necessarily forced into these roles, though sometimes they are. I think a lot of men are, they actively strive towards these roles because it provides them with a valid path through life. That's not fragile masculinity at all. And you can tell that this article is quite literally just SJW wishful thinking. By supporting tough politicians and policies, men can reassure others and themselves of their own manliness. No, oftentimes people support tough politicians and policies because there are tough problems that need to be solved. And going at them limp-wristed is not going to do anything. Measuring fragile masculinity poses a challenge. We could not simply do a poll of men who might not honestly answer questions about their deepest insecurities. Instead, we relied on Google Trends, which measures the popularity of Google search terms. All right. Thanks, Google. We began by selecting a set of search topics that we believed might be especially common among men concerned about living up to the ideals of manhood. Erectile dysfunction, hair loss, how to get girls, penis enlargement, penis size, steroids, testosterone, and Viagra. I'm sure, from your point of view, these search terms seem like something that a man who is suffering from fragile masculinity might be searching for, but you do realize that there are actually many reasons to look up all those terms. Like, especially testosterone, man. Like, there are many reasons to look up testosterone that don't involve a man being insecure. So let's see their map. Prevalence of Google searches in the U.S. media markets for erectile dysfunction, hair loss, how to get girls, penis enlargement, penis size, steroids, testosterone, and Viagra. Darker areas indicate a higher volume of search activity. We found that support for Trump in the 2016 election was higher in areas that had more searches for topics such as erectile dysfunction. I mean, the data's there. You can't deny it, but you know, there could be other reasons. I'm not saying that this is not a valid hypothesis. It's possible, but there really could be other reasons. And at least they're willing to admit it. The research reported here is correlational. We can't be entirely sure that fragile masculinity is causing people to vote in a certain way. No, you just read a whole fucking article about it, though. Let's end off with some peak gender activism. This conservative male politician says he's now a woman and is therefore free to talk about abortion. I am going to declare my gender today to be a woman, and then you'll no longer be able to attack me, Senator Barry O'Sullivan said. Look at that shit-eating grin. This is the smile of a fat old fuck who knows exactly what he's doing. And really, isn't this a lot like what Lauren Southern did like a year or two ago? I know in Canada she changed her gender to be male just to show, as a protest, just to show how fucking stupidly easy it was. She walked in looking like Lauren Southern, you know, very obviously a woman. She walks into the office and is like, I identify as a male. This is how I express my maleness, is by looking like this, like obviously not a male. And I demand you respect this. And then she did it. She got her gender change on her birth certificate in Canada. So this tactic, it's not new. O'Sullivan moved a motion on Monday calling for pro-choice activists to be banned from disrupting the annual Day of the Unborn Child established by Pope John Paul II to provide a position option in favor of life, and is observed on March 25th. The motion claimed it was hypocritical of pro-choice activists to complain about pro-life protests near abortion clinics while also protesting at pro-life events. I mean, he's not wrong. I do think that pro-choice activists can protest at pro-life events. I do think that pro-life activists can protest at pro-choice events, and even at abortion clinics or hospitals or wherever abortion happens to be taking place. Protest is protest, and speech is speech. During the debate, Greens Senator Larissa Waters said O'Sullivan should be ashamed of himself. Senator O'Sullivan needs to get his hands and his rosaries off my ovaries and those of the 10,000 Queensland women who have an abortion each year. 10,000 women who have the right to make a decision about their own bodies without the opinion of Senator O'Sullivan getting in their way. O'Sullivan claimed it was these comments, which he characterized as attacks. And I guess it's not really an attack, it's kind of inflammatory. It's definitely insulting him, but it's not like directly insulting him. But it prompted him to declare himself a woman on Wednesday afternoon. I am going to declare my gender today, as I can, to be a woman, and then you'll no longer be able to attack me. We can't open our traps. You cannot say the word abortion without being attacked by this mob of almost, I'd say, grubs, if I didn't think you were going to make me withdraw it. These people come and attack me for my religious basis the other day using words like rosary beads because I had the audacity to raise issues around late-term abortions where babies that are only minutes away from getting a smack on the arse and a name are being aborted under the policy of the Australian Greens. That's probably hyperbole. I don't know the numbers in Australia. I don't even know the numbers in Canada offhand. But most places, even that allow for abortions, don't perform abortions on babies that are minutes away from being born. Like that's a bit much. And you know what? I don't think you're going to find anybody aside from the most ridiculous radicals who would support that. Like I'm an abortion supporter, and even I feel like that there's definitely a limit, you know? If you're in your third trimester and you're about to pop in a week, it's like, nah, it's a bit too late for that now. You should have figured out that you wanted an abortion earlier. Here's the video of Senator Barry O'Sullivan saying he is declaring his gender to be a woman, so the left-wing people can no longer attack him over his anti-abortion views.
Attacked me for my religious basis the other day using words like rosary beads because I had the audacity to raise issues around late-term abortions where babies that are only minutes away from getting a smack on the arse and a name being aborted under the policies of the Australian Greens. So I will not stand silent. I will not stand mute while these people try to continue to marginalise policies and ideas that we want to discuss for this nation that I think are largely supported still by the majority of the nation. There's no question about that. They are an ever-increasingly silent majority because they're not game to speak. I've had it in here. I've moved sensible motions here, reflecting the views of so many people in our society, only to have formality denied. No, well, you've been part of it, Senator Hinch. I'm going to declare my gender today as I can to be a woman, and then you'll no longer be able to attack me.
Well, there you have it. Barry O'Sullivan. She's a stunning and brave female politician. Let's be honest, though, this Barry guy seems to be a bit of a nutter, a little bit. How could any living, breathing soul argue against reconfirmation of the sanctity of life? My party is a largely conservative party. You wouldn't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to know where most of the membership of our party sits on the issue of abortion. Many in the party and outside would like to lock pregnant women up and bind their arms and say no abortion could occur. That's a bit much, isn't it? I did a video on abortion. It might even be a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. I don't know, man. But it's basically just me really going over the pro-life and pro-choice positions. And personally, I found that abortion rights is like a bad solution to a bad problem, but it's the best solution we have, because banning abortion causes so many other problems that are far worse than not banning abortion. And oftentimes a lot of problems in life are like that. There is no good solution and bad solution, and there's no good people and bad people. There's only a series of bad choices, and you have to choose the least bad one. And I think the abortion debate is a textbook example of that. However, we are at the point where you can basically just identify as a woman and then be free of criticism. That is where we are now. Alright, my friends, that about does it for me. Like I said at the top of the video, I'm going to be working on trying to get more daily videos out. I am still working on a longer Bolsonaro video, and I have a few short ones that I'm really interested in. I don't know if D&D is going to keep being hosted on my channel. Maybe we'll rotate it around to like Arch's channel or V's channel or whoever. Or maybe it will still be here. I don't know. But hopefully we're playing it again on Wednesday. And as always, I do stream on my Twitch channel, Game Boomers, 5 nights a week, 7 p.m. EST. Come and say hi. I would love to see you there. I'm out of here, though, guys. I love you.